Okay, welcome to the video. SIG Guy here, and I am super excited about this video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to adjust your four-way adjustable trigger in your USA-made 226 X5 from SIG Sauer. Everything in the manual indicates three-way. All the videos online indicate three-way. This is actually a four-way adjustable trigger, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. As always, when working on any of our firearms, we're going to make sure they are clear and safe firearms. So I'm going to clear these and make sure they're safe really quick by physically and visually checking the chamber to make sure there's no round in there, no magazine. Check our breech face, look away, do the same thing. Chamber, magazine, breech face. This one's clear and safe. And then we'll do the same thing over here. Chamber, magazine, breech face, look away. Chamber, magazine, breech face. We are working with clear and safe firearms. Okay, so I'm going to ramble on a little bit here in the beginning of this video, so if you want to fast forward to the good stuff, knock yourself out. I usually wait till the end to ramble, but this is the SIG Sauer X5 Super Match from the Master Shop in Germany. Okay, this is one of 10 made for Armory Craft. They did a special edition for them before they closed their doors over in Germany, so I am very lucky to have one of these, and everybody that has a Master Shop pistol knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say, and what I've always said is, SIG USA is making nothing that can compare to something like this. I mean, you got your Legion series stuff, which everybody thinks is the greatest thing out there, and they are great out of the box. They are way better than most everything else out there, and they can be made so much better. My 226 SAO Legion, the trigger is phenomenal in that thing, and we'll go over that in a little bit. But it was kind of funny when I was at SIG about a year ago, and I asked if they were going to be making anything like this because SIG Germany had closed. I was told, no, probably not. And I was like, why? They're like, well, the price point wouldn't be where if they could market it and sell it to 1 million people, you know. They didn't think the market was there. And I'm like, they're crazy because there are so many people spending so much money for these things, way more money than they were worth when the Master Shop was open, because now they're collectibles and people are paying anywhere from 2 to 10 times more than they're worth. Than they originally were worth. So anyway, wouldn't you know it, lo and behold, SIG USA came out with their 226 X5, which is pretty awesome. Now people are figuring out what everybody had been talking about when they posted pictures of their, Super Match X5 German Master Shop guns, bragging about them, and they just really didn't get it because they didn't have one. Well, now that they have the American-made one, everybody's finally understanding how nice a SIG can be and how nice it can be to shoot. So in this video, we're going to do some comparisons between the two, but mainly we're going to talk about our four-way adjustable trigger, which everything online indicates that this is a three-way trigger. All the videos out there, the manual, everything says three-way, but it actually has a four-way adjustable trigger, just like our German one here. So with that, let's get started on talking about our trigger adjustments. One other thing I want to mention is the price point. Every time I'm on Facebook, people are like, oh my God, that's ridiculous for that amount of money, the $2,200 or $2,300. Some I've seen them up to $2,500. They can't keep up with demand. So right now the price is going to be more in some gun shops because people are having a hard time getting these and they're going to pay a little bit more to get one. So $2,300 is what the value is. A Master Shop one, this was $5,000, and that's kind of like entry level pricing from anything from the Master Shop. Okay, so when you're spending $2,200 on something equivalent to this, that is a very good deal, okay? And then, like I mentioned before, my 226 SAO Legion, I mean, I have more money into this gun than I paid for this gun. So you can either buy the upgrades all included, is what I'm getting at here, paying the $2,200, or you can buy, something that's the $1,200 gun and put an extra $8,000 or $1,000 into it to get it to shoot with like something like this. So with this gun, you're getting the upgrades in advance. You're paying for it. There's very little that you'd even have to do to this thing to make it any better. There are going to be some parts coming out that enhance it a little bit, but we'll talk about that later on down the road. All right, so let's finally talk about why everybody's here in the first place, and that's our trigger adjustments. Okay, there are 4 adjustments. Count them. 1, our trigger position adjustment. Okay. 2, our over travel adjustment. Use this hole right here, an Allen wrench goes through it, goes to a screw down here behind our trigger that we showed you on that little I-beam. That is our over travel adjustment. 3, our trigger weight adjustment. Okay, use an Allen wrench to go through this hole here, which goes to a screw up on the inside, which tightens up or loosens the trigger pull weight on our trigger. Okay, and if we remove our slide, and to remove our slide on the American one, we basically push up on our takedown lever a little bit, push in on this pin, okay, and that basically prevents our takedown lever from accidentally coming down as we're shooting our pistol. So now that that's slid over, we can lock our slide to the rear, we can rotate our takedown lever down, we can remove our slide, and if we look right in here, there's another Allen screw right in here. And that is our 4th adjustment, our pre-travel adjustment. Okay, that's the exact same one as in our German friend here. The one right here, you can clearly see it, is the pre-travel adjustment screw as well. So the way that we remove or rotate our takedown lever, I'm going to give that to the American version, as I like that a lot with this pin here. Okay. And before I forget, and I'll try to hit it on it when we go to that adjustment, if you tighten up your trigger, or if you actually loosen the trigger pull weight like all the way and leave it there, you're going to have a hard time sliding this pin side to side. Okay, there's a component that's pushing on that somehow when you back this screw all the way out to get the lightest possible trigger pull. Okay, so if you're experiencing this is hard to move by hand, it should move by hand, no problem at all. Then actually tighten that screw just a whisker, and then that screw, or that, excuse me, that pin will move side to side nice and freely. The way the Germans did it, they basically have like a detent type thing right there. This post that's actually made to our frame that kind of clicks on and off, which is very nice as well. You don't accidentally rotate it like we do on some of our pistols with the gas pedals and stuff like that on there. So the only 2 tools that you're going to need to do any of these adjustments is a 2mm Allen wrench. So I like to get a nice long one like this, and a 2.5mm, 2.5mm Allen wrench like this. This one you're going to use for our trigger position. All the other adjustments use the 2mm one. Okay, so we'll start with our position one here. Now, if you look, the way that this is designed is it's actually clamped onto the trigger portion inside the frame here. Okay. So the shoe basically has 2 legs that come around, and they clamp around it like that with a through bolt. So when we loosen up this through bolt, it relieves these legs to come out a little bit, and then you can unhook it from, it's kind of like an I-beam setup on the inside here, okay? So we'll loosen this up just a little bit. You don't have to take it all the way out. In your manual, it says remove it completely. I'm not going to remove it completely because it's almost falling out right now. I just did 1 turn, and it kind of flopped to the side. So also a good thing to do maybe is take some painter's tape and line the inside of your trigger guard here with a couple layers. That way you don't accidentally scratch it when you're removing and installing your trigger here, if you're actually going to remove it. Okay, so you can see it's kind of flopping around here. I'm just going to grab it by one side, pull down, let it fall out, and this is what our trigger actually looks like. So our trigger has these little teeth right here, and there's a matching set on the portion underneath here. It's going to be harder to show you, but these are little notches as well. Okay, so those kind of meet up like this, you know, and then you tighten that bolt, and then it's not going to go forwards or backwards at all. Okay, this is a MIM part. It looks great. It feels great. Hopefully somebody will actually come out with a CNC version and maybe make a kit to where you can have your choice of a flat trigger or a curved trigger. I'm not sure if these are interchangeable or not. I did a complete disassembly of this when I first got it, before I thought things through. If you lose anything or break anything, there is no support for this pistol right now. So luckily I got it all back together and didn't lose anything. But I was going to see if these are interchangeable. This is Loctited in there, and I'm not messing with it. It's where I want it to be. I'm willing to bet it's probably the same setup, but it would be nice if somebody actually came out with a little kit with some other parts like a hammer that's MIM, and takedown is MIM, and some other MIM parts. Maybe put together some kits where we can buy some or CNC stainless steel or black parts to upgrade these with. Anyway, so here is our adjustment for our over travel while we're here. Okay, our Allen wrench is going to go straight through this hole. It's going to go right down into that Allen screw, and then we're going to loosen or tighten that screw to remove or add over travel. Okay, so that's how that works. Just while we have this apart, it's easier to see. So when we reinstall our trigger, basically we just do it in the reverse. We kind of hang one leg onto that I-beam and then push the other one over and onto it. And I'm going to move it back and forth to make sure I can hear that ratcheting. Then I'm going to tighten this up a little bit so it's not quite so wobbly. And we can make our adjustments. So you can put this way far forward. Let me loosen that a little bit more. And if you got really big fingers and you need that much room, this can accommodate you. Okay. If you got smaller hands and you want to move this thing way far back, they got you covered there as well. I like mine more towards the rear. Not that I have small hands or anything, but the way I have it on the pad of my finger, and that's going to play into this adjustment as well. If you have it too far forward where your finger's kind of reaching for that trigger, okay, and then maybe you're actually pushing a lot of your shots as you're pulling that trigger back, or if it's too far back and you're kind of wrapped around that trigger and now you're pulling shots to the right, where you position that trigger on your finger is key to being very accurate. So you basically, I put the trigger right in the middle of my front pad here, to where it's perpendicular to it. So when I'm pulling the trigger, my finger is just coming straight back. Okay, that's not pushing this way, it's not pushing that way. And that's a lot of issues with a lot of people pushing and pulling, and they don't really understand what's going on. It's basically your finger placement on the trigger. Okay, so I'm going to leave mine right about there, and then we're going to tighten this up. We're going to snug it up with my Allen wrench here. And the spec on this is 15 inch-pounds. So if you got an inch-pound torque wrench with your 2mm Allen on there, give that a little click. So now we know we're right back to factory specs, and we're good to go. Just give it a little bit of a test, make sure it works, which it does. Okay, so I'm going to walk it back just a little bit. I'm not 100% sure if our hammer is MIM or not. Doesn't make sense that a MIM part would be kind of the workhorse of the pistol, where it would last or not. I'm not sure of how durable this stuff is long run, but anyway, so I'm not 100% sure about that. It is definitely an eyesore though. Skeletonized hammer would have been really nice. Anyway, so let's talk about our next adjustment, our over travel. And before I go to that, you make sure that your trigger is in a position to where you can actually gain access to the Allen screw. If you have smaller hands and you put this trigger too far towards the rear, you're not going to be able to get on that Allen screw. You might actually want to save that adjustment, the trigger position, for the very last. Okay, that way once you do your over travel, then you can move your trigger back, and if it's covering the screw, who cares? You've already adjusted it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reassemble this first really quick. When I do my over travel and pre-travel and weight, I actually like to have the slide on because it does make a difference. And when we put our slide on, just like our 365, we're going to want to make sure that our safety lever right here is actually in the down position. For whatever reason, it loves to be in the up position on this. Okay. And then what happens is when you put your slide on, it's going to collide with your slide. Okay. Right there, it's going to hit your slide. So make sure that's down, so that way your slide goes over it. See that? And then there's no issues. We'll rotate our takedown lever back up. We'll release our slide. We'll push that up a little bit. We'll push our pin all the way through and make sure that's all locked into place like it should be. So we're switching to the 2mm Allen wrench from now on. With your pre-travel, or excuse me, your over travel, basically what you can do is you can run this screw in, like right now it works. Okay, and we're actually going to verify that we're safe and clear again. Okay, so we're going to be pulling the trigger a bunch of times. Obviously it works. My trigger goes back far enough to fire the pistol. if I run this in a little bit, okay, we'll go a whole turn. Then we rack our slide. Well, guess what? We've taken all of the over travel out, and the trigger won't even move now. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is back this out. Use a half a turn. And it did fire, but it felt like I was like actually all the way, and then you pull it a little bit harder, and then it releases the hammer, okay? But I don't want it on the hairy edge like that, okay? It obviously works. To give you a hint, mine's one whole turn is where I'm going to run it. That's why I went a whole turn, and it was all the way in, because I've already made my adjustments before. So that's kind of like, I'm not happy with that. I want some over travel, okay? Just like the pre-travel, we want some. That way we're not kind of setting ourselves up for failure to where we pull the trigger as hard as we can and it doesn't go off, okay? So I'm going to kind of go in one more half turn. Oops, I actually went the wrong way. Got to back it out. If you tighten the screw, it's moving in and it's hitting against whatever prevents the trigger from actually being able to be pulled back. So I'm going to back this out one whole turn, and that's where I want mine, okay? I mean, when you pull it after, there's our wall, pulling it, and then it releases, and then it doesn't go back a whole bunch more till you're at full travel length, okay? I mean, it can go back more if I actually back that screw out. But that's where I like it. It functions every single time. So that is our second adjustment, our over travel adjustment for the 226 X5. Our third adjustment is going to be our trigger pull weight, and that is this hole right here. Now, like in the manual says, if you're going in either direction and it feels like it stops, do not force it anymore. You're at the end of the travel, okay? You don't want to break anything here. This trigger, I think in the manual says it goes anywhere from 2.5 to 4 pounds, you know, from min to max. Yeah, so... And that's going to change if you actually change out some of these parts, like your sear spring or any of the other springs or your main spring. And depending on what you're doing, you can get a lighter trigger pull than the 2.5, obviously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this all the way in. All right, and that's where I start to feel resistance, okay? So we'll just get a trigger reading here to show people. Basically where we're at. So right in the middle of our trigger, and for those people that show some trigger readings, and they're super low, you're not using your gauge the way it's supposed to be used. And I'll demonstrate. So if I go like that, well, guess what? I got a 1 pound, 12.4 ounce trigger pull, which this thing's maxed out heavy wise. So it's not going to be 1.12 for a trigger pull. What you want to do is pull this as slowly as possible in the middle of the trigger, because it's not going to add any weight. I mean, it's going to be as heavy as it is. And you can see it's quite a bit of difference. 3 pounds, 5.1 ounces. Okay. Pulling as slow as possible. 3 pounds, 2.6 ounces. And actually, the weight kit that I tried to get for my trigger pull weight, you actually hang the weights off of the trigger and you keep adding a little bit at a time. And then when your trigger breaks, however much weight you have on there, that's your true trigger pull weight. Okay, it has nothing to do with physics and snapping the trigger or having it high or low or anything like that. So high and low plays into it too, where we had 3.2 and 3.4 was the first one. If I put this way on the bottom of my trigger here and pull very slowly, you can see I'm at 2.3. And if I put it higher up on the trigger, it's mechanical advantage. It's leverage. You know what I'm saying? So to be fair, always in the center of the trigger, always straight back. You don't want to be at an angle like this or an angle like that. You want to be straight back, slow as possible to get an accurate reading. Okay. So I forget the numbers, 3.4 and 3.2, I think. 215. Three. So it's over 3. So we're going to back this all the way off. And like I said, we have 5 turns. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there's 5 turns. So I didn't have it all the way in. We were doing our 3/6. And these are going to vary pistol to pistol. They're not all going to be the same. And what I've found is 3/9. The first couple that I do seem to be heaviest after you actually pull the trigger for quite a bit, you know. Kind of get things all warmed up, if you want to think of that. If you got grease in there instead of oil, things start moving a little bit easier. That's going to matter for your trigger pull weight as well. So whatever the case may be, you always want to do it the same throughout. Whatever pistols you're comparing. If you rack the slide a bunch of times before you do it, well, do it on both of them. That way, this is coming in pretty consistently at 3/9. Okay, so that's all the way maxed out, 3/9. And then we're going to back this off 5 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And like I mentioned before, with this all the way tight, like all the way loosened to the, like as far as it goes, I have a hard time pushing that pin through the frame. But if you take that adjustment and back it off a little bit, guess what? Now the pin moves nice and freely. So for those of you that have made your adjustment, you're like, why is that pin so damn hard now? Just back that off a little bit. Okay. So we're all the way as loose as it'll go, all the way backed out. And we're going to do our trigger pull. 211. 211. 212. So that's pretty consistent right there. So anywhere from 211 to 3.9, I think was the highest before of our adjustment. Okay. Now, having said that, the lightest trigger isn't always the best trigger. Okay. I know on my Master Shop one, when I had this thing all the way down, it was like 1 pound, 12-ounce trigger. I was getting double taps all the time. When I'd release the trigger to come back to the wall, the recoil and the movement of the gun actually made it go off again. So not a safe situation. So I actually dialed a little bit more trigger weight into it, and now it runs perfect. So there you have it. That is our trigger pull weight, the third adjustment on the 226 X5. So I'm kind of laughing because I went to go shoot this next section on the pre-travel adjustment, and mine was already adjusted up, so I really couldn't illustrate how much pre-travel is normally in the gun. So I basically took it all apart, backed the screw all the way out, so we can show you basically the amount of pre-travel we're talking about here. So before we get all into the adjustments, there's a couple things here. So when we talked about with the double tap situation with the Master Shop X5, it was a combination of two things. The trigger pull weight was way too light, and the pre-travel was all removed. Okay, almost all removed. So with this gun here, I mean, this is the pre-travel I got in it now. Okay, and this is the amount I want in it to safely shoot the gun and proficiently shoot the gun. So here's my wall. Still a light trigger. Here's my wall. Okay, so when I shoot and it breaks and it resets, okay, I'm coming out, trying to do this as slow as possible. There's my reset, and I'm right on the wall again already. Okay, right after my reset, there's like zero movement, and I'm on the wall. So if this is my first, like none of this is there, I'm like right on the wall as soon as I touch the trigger. When you shoot your pistol and it's moving around from recoil, when I shoot, I don't remove my finger all the way. I basically remove my finger to the wall so it can reset, and then I'm ready to go again. So with the movement of the gun, the lighter trigger and no pre-travel, basically it was causing double taps just by the recoil alone. Okay. Long story short, too much removal of pre-travel is not a good thing. And while we're talking about the triggers, and I just demonstrated the X5 on the SAO Legion with all the upgrades in here, this has got I'm going to say this is a better trigger pull than actually this one here, because of when I pull my trigger, the same thing as the Master Shop. When I come back out, this one actually moves less than the Master Shop. I'm right on the wall already, and it's ready to go. Okay, look at that. That is insane. Okay, so that's why I always preach about all these upgrades, because this trigger is kind of like this right out of the box. Okay, so you can have as nice of a trigger as this for a fraction of the cost in your 226 SAO. So with the X5 American made, even once we get it all adjusted and we're coming back off of our over travel to our reset, come on, okay, there's my reset. You can see how I just pulled it a little bit more in, so there's like this much movement from our reset to the wall. Okay, demonstrate it again, going as slow as possible. There's our reset, and there's our wall. So that is going to be the thing that these folks, if they turn their nose up at this trigger, it's going to be for that reason right there. And there's really not a whole lot yet that can be done about removing that. Okay, that's what makes this such a phenomenal trigger, is because that wall and the reset are right there together. You can get rid of as much pre-travel as you want, your over travel, and your weight. You cannot get, this is like what gunsmiths do. Okay, and you can do the same thing with this. So that is the big deal about these and being heavy. Most of the time, people, their first impression when they pick this up, they're gonna be like, damn, that is heavy. And while we're thinking about it, right here, I meant to do this earlier. We have our American X5, 2 pounds, 11.6 ounces, and our German 2 pounds, 9.9. So wow, that has surprised me actually, that our American is a little bit more thick. The way the Americans like them, I guess. Yeah, unloaded, a little bit heavier. That's pretty cool. I didn't expect that at all. All right, so having said all that, let's move on to making our pre-travel adjustment. Okay, so 2mm Allen wrench. We already talked about all the stuff about too much is not a good thing either. Aside from what I've already talked about, there's another condition where if you remove too much pre-travel, you're going to run into, okay? And hopefully I can demonstrate that very easily on my first attempt here. So we're going to rotate our takedown lever, remove our slide, and then our pre-travel screw has basically like 3 usable turns, okay? And we'll set that like just like that so we can kind of count how many turns. And your hammer, you really don't want this thing slamming forward without your slide on. Hitting the firing pin is one thing, but hitting nothing but internals here in the frame, you don't want that. Okay, it happens every now and then on accident. Once ain't gonna hurt it or whatever, but you don't want to repetitively keep doing it over and over. Okay, so kind of get in the habit of putting your thumb over it. And then what we're going to demonstrate first here is all this is a screw, okay, that goes in and out. And all it does is it mimics pulling the trigger. So if you watch my trigger, as I'm tightening this, you can see it going back, 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 back. That's 3 right there, 3 turns, and it released my hammer because it's basically like the invisible man is pulling on my trigger, okay? So it won't even lock back right now, so obviously it's way over adjusted. So I'm going to back this out a little bit until it actually locks my hammer to the rear. Which that's right on the edge right there. We'll do it a little bit more. Okay. And as you, I'm going to go actually a little bit more because there's issues getting the slide on and off if you're too far back. So you can see my hammer is locked back, and it does release when I pulled the trigger. Hopefully we're a first time go here. I'm going to put my slide on, because remember in the beginning of the video I said it makes a huge difference if things work right or not with your slide on and off. Okay, so actually you can see that my safety lever is actually being, I can't even push it down because the trigger is partially back. So we're going to have to back this off just a little bit more to where my safety lever can go down. Let's see if we can get this on here. See it releases, okay? So I'm going to pull the trigger. Okay, it did reset. So what happens sometimes is, let me tighten this up just a little bit more so I can show you what's going on. You don't want to damage anything, so just be careful. Okay, so it did release my hammer like you just saw. I'm trying to get it on the very hairy edge here. So my hammer's back. See how it did not reset. Okay. Although it worked fine with the slide off, it kept releasing the hammer. With the slide on and everything now, my trigger can't go far enough forward to reset the trigger. Hammer's locked back, but I can't fire it because the trigger never reset. So if you remove too much of the pre-travel, this is what's going to happen. And if it's like right on that hairy edge and yeah, it's working every time here, and you go to, you know, shoot a competition, there could be that time where it does not reset because maybe that screw worked its way in just a little bit more and now you're over that threshold. Okay, so this is going to be an edit. I actually took the video off of YouTube because of a problem I was experiencing, and I didn't want anybody to have any unsafe conditions. So this has to do with the pre-travel also. So too much pre-travel removal will also not allow your manual safety to engage fully and prevent the hammer from dropping when you pull on the trigger. So I have mine adjusted basically like I had it previously. So I'll rack my slide, the hammer is cocked. You can hear I put my safety on. Guess what? I can pull my trigger. Okay? And the hammer falls. So demonstrate again. Safety's on. You're led to believe that it's a safe firearm. And then I pull the trigger and it drops the hammer. So I was racking my brain yesterday because I started another video on this with the sear spring and the strut. And so I disassembled some of this stuff, and then I found this condition. And then I basically taken apart some stuff up here. So I couldn't figure out why the hammer was dropping with the safety in, or with the safety on. So I basically disassembled the whole pistol, cleaned everything, put it all back together. It was still doing the same thing. What turns out is my pre-travel adjustment is adjusted too much. Still got some play in there. Okay. But like I said, you think your safety's on, and you can see right here at the top of my grip and my safety lever, I think there's some silver showing when it goes up far enough, which I'll make the adjustments and we'll come back. But just notice, like right now, there is no silver showing in between my grip and my manual safety there. So not good. Not good at all. This is why we thoroughly test everything after we do any modifications or adjustments to our pistols out at the range to ensure something like that doesn't happen. Okay, so let me adjust this up properly and we'll see what the gap is in between here. Okay, so I've ran my pre-travel screw out a little bit, so there's a little bit more pre-travel, and you can see when we engage our safety, you can actually see the silver in between the grip and the lever itself. Okay, so even though it felt like it clicked on previously, it's not engaging fully inside to prevent the hammer from dropping like it is now. Okay, so again, just to illustrate, removing too much pre-travel is not a good thing. You want a little bit in there, not only for our reset, but to make sure our manual safety, if you got an SAO, fully engages. All right, so now that I've demonstrated the possibilities of removing too much pre-travel, what it will cause, let's actually adjust this the proper way, okay? So I'm going to remove my slide. Got to pull my trigger, push that down a little bit, and then we're going to back this out some more. You hear it, actually, you just heard it reset right there. So let me see where I'm at. I'm going to put my slide back on. Still way too much in there. That's basically backed all the way out, okay? So now I mean, you can go like a half a turn, a quarter turn, whatever you want. I'm going to go one whole turn at first. I put my finger on the trigger, and when you turn in the screw, you can actually feel when the trigger actually starts to move, okay? So even though, you know, if depending on where it's set from the factory, if this thing's way out and you're turning this, you know, and you're doing a quarter turn at a time and your trigger's not even moving, you're wasting a lot of time. So basically, I guess where a starting point would be, back this all the way out and then put your finger on the trigger and then just start tightening this, and you can actually feel and see when it actually starts to first move. So that's where you're going to begin at, okay? So now that I'm there, I'm going to go probably, let's do a half a turn. We'll put this back together. You don't have to keep pushing this in and out during this part just to test this, see how it works, okay? So we'll fire it. That all works fine. We'll rack the slide. You can see we got probably about half of it removed already. Just that one little turn, okay, that half turn. So I'm going to actually go just a little bit more. I'll probably do a quarter of a turn. So right there, we'll go a quarter of a turn. Put this back on. Oops, safety lever. Come on. Works properly. Just a little bit there still. I mean, what you can do is see how much you can safely remove. You know, keep going and removing it. There's an 8th turn right there. And then come back the other way. So it works properly. There you go. You're just, there's a wall right there. So then we're going to see how much we're going to come out to our reset. There's our reset. And it didn't really come out much more after that. So I'm right on the edge there of whether it's going to reset or it's not. It's pretty consistent. As a range gun, you know, competition gun, fun gun, whatever, I'd be happy with that. But if you're going to carry this or something like that, I would definitely be on the forgiving side, and I'm basically just going to remove that 8th turn that I put in there at the end. Okay. The safety lever loves to hang up on this pistol for some reason. Okay, so again, we'll pull it. Everything works fine. We'll come out to our reset. Right there, and then I have a little bit more after that, and that's not bad. I'm pretty happy with all of that. Okay, so then the last step after you've done all this, if you actually moved your trigger forward a little bit to get at your over travel screw, you can actually move it back, which I've already done it on mine, okay, because my finger wasn't kind of wrapping around as far as I wanted it to naturally, and now it is. So there you go. And there you have it. That is how to adjust your 4-way adjustable trigger in your SIG Sauer P226 X5 American version. And all these adjustments apply to your Master Shop pistols. Has the exact same setup, the exact same triggers, exact same locations on the firearm. So everything applies, okay? I'm going to ramble here a couple more minutes. That really kind of upset me the other day when I found out the problem with my safety. And that is exactly why you need to test everything 100% after making any adjustments or any upgrades or anything on any of your firearms, okay? Would be a competition pistol for me, but you never know, some guy might be carrying this, okay? Bigger guys can get away with stuff like that. And being an SAO, you want to make sure your safety is 100% reliable, so you don't have any negligent discharges. So again, please make sure everything is safe. And if this is a little bit outside your wheelhouse, bring it to a gunsmith. You can do this stuff in about 5 minutes. Seek professional help. There's no shame in it. Just to make sure that it is 100% safe and reliable. Okay. So another thing, I am so happy that SIG USA came out with this pistol. My advice for people that are just getting into firearms, maybe you have a EDC, you got the X Macro or whatever, and now you're thinking about another SIG or whatever the case may be. Knowing now what I know, if I'd known it a long time ago, I'd have saved a ton of money, because my advice right now would be is invest in that nicer firearm in the very beginning, okay? $2,200, $2,300, that is not a lot for what you're getting here, okay? You're getting $5,000 worth for $2,200, okay? Get a Dan Wesson, a Kimber, a Staccato, or something so nice. Maybe you got to sell one of your kids, remortgage the house, whatever it takes. Just do that. You're not going to regret it, and you're going to save, like I said, it'll buy your kid back, and maybe a couple more if you want. You're going to save a ton of money down the road. Buying these lower-end pistols and then upgrading them and stuff like that, it's great. It's a hobby. Everybody does it. People that already have those pistols, that's why they're investing in those. But don't be afraid to buy something very nice in the very beginning. That'll cut down on the amount of firearms you own, okay? Also, the hammer is MIM in this, okay? I mean, even the Master Shop uses MIM. And the firearm industry isn't the only industry that uses MIM. And when MIM is done properly, it can be every bit as strong as, CNC solid steel parts and stuff like that, okay? So I just kind of wanted to follow up on that, because I had a couple people message me that work in a particular place, and they did verify that that was MIM. Obviously, our takedown lever's MIM, our trigger's MIM, and some of these other parts are MIM. So I know some companies, I think Armored Craft is doing their optics plate, so you can put an optic on this. You can see it's kind of two different setups between the two. So I think they're all over that, and maybe we'll see what else they come out with as well. So it'd be very interesting going forward to see what kind of companies are doing what. I would love to see that little bit of that right there gone from my reset to my wall. Maybe some other SIG Armor will maybe get all over that and produce some parts, or somebody else. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy this type of content, please go to YouTube, SIG Guy, like and subscribe. Help the channel grow. And if you haven't been to the website in a while, sigguy.com, I've just added a ton of stuff there. More cleaning products and stuff like that. I'm just trying to make it a one-stop shop for everybody, so you can cut down on shipping. Many different manufacturers, many different parts, all different kinds of supplies and stuff on there. And I appreciate everybody's support over this past year. So, as always, thank you for watching, and have a great day.